Welcome to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. I'm Sharon Giroux, your resident skeptic who asks all the tough questions. And with me is Jennifer Neal, our manifesting maestro. Whether you're rolling your eyes or raising your vibration, we dive into all things manifestation, mindset, and energy from every side. Hit subscribe, settle in, and get ready for spirited debates, surprising experiments, and laughter on the journey to creating a life you love. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. I'm Sharon, your friendly skeptic.
And I'm Jennifer, the believer who thinks we create far more of our lives than we've ever been taught.
Today's guest has me fascinated, Jennifer, because this isn't someone who just manifested a parking spot or a new car.
No, she imagined a brand new concept, and she's going to say this better than I am, of course, but she manifested a brand new concept, an entirely new way of helping people to, I'll use the word heal. She's probably going to correct me, but ultimately get everything they want in their life.
Well, and by the looks of it, somehow not only did she imagine it, she actually built it.
She did. So, welcome everybody today. Sarah Jackson. She is the founder of the practice in Toronto, Ontario. This is a wellness center that combines psychotherapy with multiple healing disciplines under one roof because she believed that people heal best when we treat the whole person, not just the symptom. So, welcome, Sarah, to the show.
Welcome, Sarah. Great to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Sarah, not only an unbelievable founder, and I'm going to say manifestor, but she's also a very dear friend of mine. So, Sarah, welcome to the show. You and I go back a long way, and I've watched your journey for a very long time. Maybe you could, in your words, explain to our audience what the practice is.
Yeah, that's been an interesting journey for me too, because it doesn't exist out there. So it is a wellness center, for lack of better words, but I like to call it sort of an energy space. For me, it came from the place of knowing that the traditional model of psychotherapy kind of wasn't enough to heal the whole person. And it came from a very personal experience. And so what it's turned into being is a space where you come to find yourself, to do some deep healing, to grow, to look at all parts of your life and set goals. And it's sort of a mindset and meditation space to become the best version of yourself.
And Sarah, to be clear, you come to this as a qualified therapist. What's your professional resume, if you will?
I'm a master's of social work. I used to practice psychotherapy for about 18 years, and I was a specialized in trauma therapy. And I loved that work. I really did. But when my kids were little, I left the hospital settings and I left my private practice and I went into business. So this is kind of an accumulation of all my life experience. And I knew I always wanted to go back into the healing world in some capacity, but I just didn't know what that would look like for me.
So, Sarah, take us back as many years as you feel. Like I'm going to say 5. I ultimately can't remember when this started, but I know where you and I were when we talked about this. But take us back before the practice existed. What was the first moment that you thought there has to be a better way, and I'm going to start putting it out there? I'm going to say to the universe, of course, but putting it out there because I think I might be the person to bring this to the world. So, when was the first moment you thought there has to be a better way?
In all honesty, it was probably sitting having a conversation with you when you told me just go back to seeing clients. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Me too.
And I looked at you and I said, no, I just can't do that. And I didn't know
Mhm.
why. I didn't know why that was my answer, but I know that was my answer. And so I sat with that and just let the solution come. I let the vision come. It was probably a year and a half after we had that conversation that I got clarity on what it was I was going to be doing.
Can we go back even prior to that though? Because there was I'm gonna use the word a restlessness, like, I think we can all relate to this. There was a restlessness in you where you were like, I don't know what I'm meant to do. I'm in this space where I'm between raising my children and what's next for me, and how did you know there was something bubbling up?
I don't think I did yet at that time, other than I knew I was seeking something, I guess. I was seeking something that was missing in me, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was in my career, I didn't know if it was in my personal life. I just knew something was missing. And so I started exploring, I started reading, I started seeking my own healing. I started energy healing and tarot card readings and therapy and life coaching, and so I didn't know what I was seeking, but I something was missing, and that something really was happiness.
Interesting.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. That's crazy. I mean, you sort of think when you start a new business that your perspective is more along the lines of you want to build something not in the search of happiness. Most people, I think, do it in the search of money or kudos or career as opposed to happiness. I think that happiness forward perspective is quite interesting.
Yeah, for me, it's just this I guess what it is that now I've discovered what made me happy, and I wanna share it. I want other people to be able to find it, and I want them to be able to find it, um, in a more simple way than I did in terms of how much research I had to do, how much finding I had to do. So if they can all find it under one space and it's what they're seeking, then that's what I'm offering.
So, what made you believe that you could actually build it?
Hmm, a funny question. Not a funny question. I guess the answer is, this is where I'll lean toward Jen. I just told myself every day I could do it. I just told myself that if the purpose was to help other people, then the universe would guide me. And that if my intention wasn't selfish, if it wasn't for my own personal benefit only, then I would succeed. And I really just came to believe that. A huge part of my philosophy is that in life, the universe does have a plan for us. And if we let it guide us and we listen to it, and a part of that journey is giving to others, then the universe will hold us up.
So, I'm gonna say something that I think Sharon would probably say, the skeptic, but, um, how do you decide, Sarah, that, "Listen, I now have a business plan, we have strategies, we've got people in place, I've got goals, if I put enough muscle into this, I can create anything," versus I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna let the ideas come to me. The perfect ideas will come to me. If this is meant to be, the ideas will flow. So that more believer idea, which is this is a manifestation that the universe truly brought to you, versus if I muscle strategies and spreadsheets hard enough, I can do this anyway. How would you comment on that? Those 2 ideas.
Manifestation is the combination of those 2 ideas. If we believe we can do it and we ask for it and we put it out there and, you know, you come up with an idea, and a part of the manifestation, the idea becoming real is sharing it with people, is having the courage, is telling yourself you can do it, and talking to the universe and saying, "Please help me, show me signs." Like, along the way, I've had to see the silliest signs, but that mean keep going. But you can't manifest a business without doing the business plan and the spreadsheets and the hard work, and it ebbs and flows. So right now at the very beginning of opening, and we haven't fully launched yet, I'm in the I'm in the real business mode. I don't get to sit back right now and manifest and let the universe guide me as much as I would like. But when you don't allow time for that, you get in a grind and you don't see the signs, you don't see the direction you're supposed to go in next. So, when I'm interviewing, for example, and I'm meeting all these amazing people, I do have to sit back and just take a moment and say, "Show me a sign."
Right.
Guide me in because they're all amazing people. Guide me into who the right decision is, who the right fit is, what the right connection is, and I will listen. It's building the business, you can't just sit back and manifest and do nothing, and that's the myth of manifestation. Manifestation is the combination of allowing guidance and then creating it.
So I always find it incredibly amazing when people start new businesses because it just takes so much to get literally from 0 to momentum. And there's obviously all sorts of blocks that come into your way, no matter how hard you might manifest. Jennifer might disagree with me. Did people think that you were crazy because opening a wellness center with multiple healing modalities sounds expensive and risky? Did you have a lot of naysayers around you?
It didn't matter to me. So the answer is, probably, but I didn't hear them. I didn't let them in. I uh, personally, I might have shut them out, but just in my own brain, I didn't let that messaging come in, and I set boundaries with people. Yeah, I did. I had to, stop talking to a lot of people about it. I just went inward and carried on. You know, there well, there's an example I love from the very beginning, and this wasn't a naysayer. Um, but, my branding team in the beginning, she was amazing, Sarah Dobson. She created the perfect brand for me. I got chills when she presented it to me because I'd been wanting to get a tattoo of 3 stars to represent my 3 kids. She came up with the P, which is 3 stars and a moon, and so it gave me chills. She didn't know I wanted the 3-star tattoo. But then slowly she was recreating it, and I was listening to her direction as the brand expert, and she changed the stars so it was 2 stars, and I allowed her to go in that direction, even though my gut was saying, "No, the 3 stars are what represent me." And so I went down that road with her and thinking she's the expert. She's the one who knows best. She knows branding. And so I did take her around, but what that lesson was for me is it's so easy to think somebody knows better, to doubt yourself, to say, she's the branding expert. I'm going to go with that instead of the chills, the instinct that I got from the first presentation. And so you just have to block it out and you have to tune in again and you have to say, no, this just doesn't feel right for me. Let's get back on track.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna dive in there, and Sharon, I'd love your take on this, but, when you feel chills, when your gut's speaking to you, well, there's a saying that, the gut is very close to God, but as the person sitting in the room with the MBA, what do you think about that? Where Sarah's getting chills and her gut is screaming at her that this is the right approach to go. What does the strategist MBA person say in the room?
So this might go contrary to all the theory because my basic feeling is that the person who has to drive this bus, sure, you might have a ton of experts sitting in different seats on your bus, but you're the driver and you're the one who can see it from all angles. And you can see the experts in your rearview mirror as you're looking to see which bums are in the bus, but you can also see what's ahead of you. So I actually think that those chills are, and Jen, you and I know that we both work with entrepreneurs for many, many years, are what I believe the distinct differential between a true entrepreneur who will drive the vision, the strategy, the concept, the ideas from not just the spreadsheets, but from the gut. And I think that's the magic.
Yeah, I agree.
But like Sarah, I still want to see the spreadsheets.
Of course you do,
I
and
think
so
in
we
some
all
business
do.
you have to. There's no choice.
Exactly.
Sarah, your phrase, everything your nervous system has been asking for under one roof. It's a very powerful statement. I loved it when I read it. Where did those words come from? And I guess, why does it matter? Where does the nervous system come into all of this?
Well, yeah, I guess the nervous system is just we live in a society where um, we've completely normalized what being anxious is. We live in a society where we think living on edge, living in a state of anxiety and fear and let fear guide us is normal. And that's not what human is. That's not what being human is. And we're all running around in a state of fear. We're all on autopilot. And when we actually take a moment to see beneath that and calm our central nervous system, let ourselves rest, we can see clearly again. We're not living on autopilot. We're not living in a state of fear, just running around protecting ourselves. And so that's really what that's about. It's saying whatever whatever calms your nervous system, either of yours, is different than what it's going to be for me because of where you're at in your lives. And so come in, and wherever you're at, we will meet you to help you find calm, clarity, healing, growth, guidance, whatever it is you need to be inspired. So you don't have to be in a state of pain. You have to understand that we're all living in an anxious society, and we've normalized that
Why does that matter though? Like, I know you and I know this, but for our audience that doesn't know why healing matters, why does healing matter?
because we're living in such a disconnected state of being. So we live in anger and fear and divisiveness, and our society's reflecting that. Road rage reflects that. People aren't living in connection. War reflects that, right? Like it's when you get back to really just understanding that we're all humans doing this for the very first time, you have compassion for each other. None of us know what we're doing. That's the reality. We can study, we can discover our skills, but none of us really know what we're doing. I've been a mother for 20 years. I still don't know what I'm doing sometimes with it. And so it's that compassion in humanity that we're missing now because we're living in a state of fear and on edge all the time,
Mhm.
in a place of understanding each other and knowing we're all really just trying to do the best we can with our circumstances.
Here's the irony in terms of what you've just said for me is that, you're saying we're living in a state of disconnection, and I absolutely see that. The irony for me is, and yet we are so connected with devices.
Addicted to devices?
Sure, that might be another way to approach it, right? But there's this whole idea that we have the ability to text each other, message each other, etc. But that doesn't really build the human connection I think that you're talking about.
No, we're connected in that, we can podcast from across the world. We're connected in that way on a device. But that's not what human connection is. Human connection is a feeling that comes from within, and using a device is often a way of avoiding connection. It's easy to be behind your device and have a difficult conversation,
Mhm.
Totally true.
but it's a lot harder to look somebody in the eye and have that conversation and say, "I hear you. I get what you're saying, and I understand where you're coming from."
Sarah, I visited the practice in Toronto on Davenport Road. If any of you ever come to Toronto, I encourage everybody to come and check it out. It'll blow your mind. It's 4 or 5 stories, Sarah? 4 or 5?
4 stories with a rooftop patio?
4 stories with a rooftop patio. Like, it's nothing you would ever expect, A, from a therapy clinical, from a therapy office, nor even from a yoga studio. It's this uh, unbelievable patchwork quilt of modalities. But looking at it, it looks easy now, right? You walk in, you go, wow, like everything from the minute you walk in the front door. And the front door, of course, is a story. Why don't you tell us about the front doors, Sarah? In fact, Sarah, talk to us about the front doors and talk to us about the journey with the peacock.
Oh, that's a long story, all of it, but it is combined. I was on my own healing journey and I was seeking, as I said, and a part of what I ended up seeking was retreats. And Jen actually introduced me to my first retreat because she was marketing a spirituality retreat in India, and I just said I was coming. So I ended up on an ashram not knowing what I was doing, but it was life altering. And so after that, I just started seeking retreats and started finding the joy in life and gratitude for nature and beautiful things. And so that took me to Sri Lanka, which is the peacock story. But my sign became a peacock, and I had a peacock following me on a walk I was on, and it opened its tail. And it was the first time that trip was the first time I told my sister that I was going to open the practice. So that was a big step for me and a big putting it out there that this had to become a reality. And so the peacock became my sign on that trip to Sri Lanka, and it was quite beautiful. And then, of course, in all my journeys and retreats, I ended up in Bali on a beautiful retreat with Penny Light. And yeah, I loved going through Bali and sourcing and these beautiful doors all over the place. And so, of course, I couldn't stop there. I had to have my front door to the practice hand carved in Bali and shipped over, which was a whole nother that could have been a business in and of itself while I was writing a book, while I was building the practice, figuring out how to ship containers across the world. But against all odds and against my contractor's wishes, I did it.
You
And
did.
beautiful. It's really beautiful, and everyone comments on it, and it just makes me happy to look at it.
And the peacock also became the mood board, if you will, or the inspiration for all the decor in the practice, correct?
What it really ended up representing for me in the practice was life isn't bland. Life, like, even when you're seeking enlightenment or zen or whatever it is, slowness or calm, or it doesn't have to be bland. And so wellness centers are quiet and they're calm and they're beige. And this is about inspiration and what lights you up and what makes you sparkle, and colors make you shine. And so the peacock inspired the jewel toned themes and the rooms throughout with each room and floor and space has a real color tone that is meant for different types of inspiration and wow and oh, it feels good to be here.
I've been to the practice. I've walked through those beautiful Balinese front doors, and it's so easy to look at this finished product, which I'm sure you would say isn't finished, but this finished product and go, wow, that looks easy. Tell us about the moments where you were scared or you weren't sure, or were there any of those moments?
Well, of course there were, but I think to accomplish what I've accomplished, you just can't let them in, really. You reframe them, I guess. You reframe the thinking. Um, there wasn't a lot of fear. There really wasn't, and but I had done the work before, and I came to a place of trusting myself, trusting my gut, knowing I would stay on track, and just telling myself every day, like, "You've got this, manifest it." Like, I don't get me wrong, there's the spreadsheets, but there are also the like, for me, in the mornings, I lay in bed. I don't get up and sit up and meditate. I lay in bed and I meditate. That's my calm space, and things come to me, and I ask for things, and I drink out of my coffee cup that says, "You've got this," and I I choose my coffee cup in the morning. One says manifest, one says perfectly imperfect, and that guides my day. Those are my things that just keep me going. And so looking for signs, and the fear comes in, of course, but what is it really? Fear of failure? If you fail, you've just learned something new. You carry on. So I kind of just didn't let it in.
So I'm curious about your journey, particularly as you came to Southeast Asia. My having lived in Toronto for many years and now having lived in Southeast Asia for the past 10. And there's obviously the modalities that are primarily Western, which include things like psychotherapy, and modalities which you've been experiencing in other parts of the world, yoga being one of them, but so many more others. Do you think that North America is ready for that shift or integration, or how do you see that happening?
I guess the answer is a small step at a time. And that's what I'm trying to create. We're so hard on each other here and we judge each other so much. And this is just a small offering to Toronto, which has changed and has become quite an angry, loud place to live. And it's just an offering to those who are seeking it. I'm not asking everybody to come. I'm not asking everybody to buy in. I know I'll get criticism. I know people won't buy in, and that's okay. But it's sort of one small step at a time, and whoever wants to be there, then that's amazing. I'll offer that to you, and hopefully this will create some change. Hopefully it will create some change in how we approach business, how we approach employment and leadership, how we approach all connection and relationships with each other. But I don't have some big expectation that the world is changing rapidly. It's it's an offering.
If you look at this in 5 years and you look back, what do you think your big indicator is going to be that this was the gift that you wanted to give? What would translate into success for you then?
That's a hard question.
Take your time.
Yeah, it's hard because, I had my first event on Sunday and, being my demographic, most of my friends are, out of town for the summer. And I filled up with people I didn't know. I filled up with people from Instagram and from other sources. I didn't know anyone who came. So, uh, that was success. So in
Totally.
5 years, I don't know what it looks like, and I don't right now what it looks like is I touched those 20 people on Sunday, and that's success.
Fantastic.
How much could you see this? Um, I often talk about having benefited from working in the design world for 20 years. We, the designers, not me so much, although I have my own version of this, but the designers could see things in their head before any client could ever see it on paper, right? It started in their brain, it worked through their body. They ended up on a computer screen, or in some cases, even with a pencil and a sketch pad, and they brought this thing to life. Does that resonate with you, Sarah? Like, could you see things perfectly, or maybe not perfectly, but in your head that you now look at and go, "It's exactly what I saw in my head." Like, how much did visioning have to do with this?
Everything.
Talk
Uh,
about that a little.
and this is where Sharon, it gets the wonky. Um, it came to me. The vision came to me, and I hadn't been manifesting through peacock signs yet. It just came to me, and it came to me in a feeling of it came to me in the feeling of what I want to feel when I go through that space and what I hope other people feel. And then I guess I created the vision in my brain that, it very much was a picture like the design that comes out on piece of paper. It came out in a physical space. But it was, yeah, it came to me in a feeling, and that was clarity.
would you say over the last couple of years where you've been working through this was something that almost had you quit?
Nothing.
Wow, that's amazing.
Think about the overwhelm, though, maybe, because I think the overwhelm can sometimes, we all feel it from time to time, right? The overwhelm sometimes has you.
I think what so then the nothing is I just wasn't gonna let myself stop. The overwhelm was, I know how to live in peace. I know how to live in calm. I know how I want to live in that space. And however we wanna talk about it, I use this language. It might not be right for everyone, but being in business building mode, you're in your masculine energy. You have to be tough. You have to be on it. You have to be directive. And I find that I'm strong in that realm, but it's not what guides me as a human. And I know I can do it, and I know that's what's going to bring success. But what's also going to bring success is the awareness that being in that mode does overwhelm me. It does take me out of my core sense of self. And there's overwhelm in everything we do. Life is hard. Building businesses is hard. Most people don't even try. They get scared before they take the first step. And that's okay too, because something in them is saying they're not ready. But yeah, it was completely overwhelming. I would be in tears at times. I would be reacting to people at times, and then I'd be sort of closing my eyes and saying, "Oh my God, Sarah, what are you doing? That's not you." But then you have to take a step back. It's about knowing yourself and reflecting on it and saying, just stop for a minute. You are in a space that you don't want to be in. So come out of it.
Sarah, can you think of anyone who gave you a piece of advice during your journey that really resonated with you and what
Uh,
that advice might have been?
I can. I don't think it's the one I wanna say here, though. Um,
Fair enough.
the first one that comes to mind, I might not put here. Um, I don't know who said it, but just I think for me, if I was saying it to someone else now, it would be just keep going. Like, just keep going, and, there were so many people who inspired me and so many people, so many books and so many authors and everything, and, it's we put this limit on ourselves. And it's ourselves doing it to ourselves, and I'm now on this. I've written a book and published a book. I've created this space. I've brought all the stuff from Bali. I've traveled the world. Like, there is no limit to what we can do other than what we tell ourselves that limit is. And we just have to keep going.
Sarah, if you could go back and speak to the version of you that was just beginning this journey way back, what would you tell her?
Well, I know the answer to that question because I had to tell her every day. So I kept saying, "You've got this." Everybody has well, maybe not everybody, but people who have done some work have their lines that they do say to encourage themselves, call them mantras, if you will. But for me, it was a part of the journey, and it was kind of on a daily, "You've got this. You are lovable. You do deserve it. You will get there. Don't be afraid." They're these mantras, and so it's not what would I tell her, it's I did tell her every day. I had to.
What would you say to someone that has a big dream? They're sitting with this big dream. What would you say to them that has a vision that feels much bigger than their current circumstances?
It's similar to how you used to say things to me, and I would say, "No, that's not right." You would say, "Just start." And, I've heard so many people who've built businesses say, "Just start small." And I do agree with that. I didn't do it because my, like, stance allowed for that, because I just wanted to go. I just knew what I was creating. I had clarity. But I guess really it is just start without fear and and really truly believe inside yourself that failure is about learning in life. It's not about failing. The failing is never seeking. And that's where we go wrong. People think if I try and I don't do it the way I want, like, just start to put it out there. You don't know what the outcome is going to be, and that's okay. It might unfold in a way you totally never expected it to, and it might be better than you ever expected. But just be okay with that. Let go of control, let it evolve, let it unfold, try new things, and don't be afraid of failing because you've learned along the way, and it will just help guide you in a new direction.
So, Sarah, my dear friend Sarah, thank you so much for coming. You are if not the first, one of the very first guests we've ever had on this podcast. We've run for a year and a half, just Sharon and I, and so I'm so thrilled you're here. I'm so unbelievably proud of you and your accomplishments, and to walk through your doors and see what you have accomplished is just breathtaking and beautiful. And I encourage everybody to go and check out the practice in Toronto. Sarah, tell us a little bit about the opening plans, what they can come and experience. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thank you, first of all. It's been a pleasure to be here. And we are doing a soft launch through this summer where you can find us on Instagram. You can see what events we're hosting. We had a beautiful yoga and rooftop brunch with tarot card reading on Sunday. We've got red light therapy yoga coming next Sunday and sound healing this evening.
Tonight,
Tonight?
tonight, I'm coming.
Oh. And so be doing events, and our yoga schedule opens on Monday. And then come September, we're going to have all services open with energy healing. We have vibration beds that are currently open, therapy, life coaching, executive coaching, career coaching, spiritual coaching, anything to help you integrate whatever parts of you that need to grow or heal.
Thanks so much, Sarah, for joining us today, and Jen for bringing Sarah in. Again, that was Sara Jackson from thepracticetoronto.com. You could check out her website and see what amazing events that are happening and the different modalities for your nervous system. Keep in mind, Sarah's also written a book called The Whisper by Sara Jackson. You can find it at fine bookstores online, anywhere. Amazon, of course, is one of them. You can also find The Practice Toronto on Instagram, so you can keep up with all the exciting events that are happening this summer and going forward. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for tuning in to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. If you enjoyed today's conversation, share it with a friend, believer or skeptic. And don't forget to leave us a review so others can join in the debate. Plus, check out Jennifer's TikTok account, Manifestation RX, where she writes daily prescriptions for manifesting your dreams. Think practical tips with a dash of magic. We love hearing your questions and stories, so tell us what you're manifesting or questioning this week. Until next time, keep an open mind and maybe manifest a little magic.